We're going where you want to go so you can be where you need to be. It's Road Gang Radio with Lindsay, Lawler, and Jimmy Mack on RadioNemo.com.
Oh yeah, we're breaking it down over here.
Come on, Leo. I'm getting low. Hang on, let me get back in my chair. I was getting low. Yeah, buddy. They're always everything's cracking over here. Everything's cracking because I'm aging, but I'm going to figure out how to super age and turn this ship around, Jimmy Mack.
That's right. There's Kraken and then there's Cravit. David Cravit,
there's Kraken,
by the way.
And then there's Crack-a-Lack.
Yeah, at Crack-a-Lack-a-Ding-Dong. By the way, David is the author of The New Old, which discussed how the baby boomers reinvented aging, Beyond Age Rage, which examines the so-called War of Generations, and with Larry Wolf, who I'll be introducing here in a moment, SuperAging, Getting Older Without Getting Old. He's also a co-founder of SuperAgingNews.com. They, by the way, are tracking the SuperAging revolution. He appears frequently on shows just like this as a respected thought leader on the new trends and the newfangled developments driving the emergence of superaging. He's joined by Larry Wolf, who is his co-founder of SuperAgingNews.com. They, by the way, if you don't know anything about them, you should, a rapidly growing digital information service delivering the latest news, ideas, and trends about living longer, living healthier, and living a more fulfilling life well into your 80s and 90s and beyond. We're looking at you, Zebulon 5. Larry's expertise, by the way, is in identifying important consumer trends and capitalizing on them. There's so much more we could talk about. He's advised many Fortune 500 companies, but it's our absolute pleasure to welcome Larry and David to the show. I want you guys to make a point of heading on over to SuperAgingNews.com. And by the way, Lindsay, since we have a number of drivers who are regular listeners and callers who are well in their 70s, I feel like these guys fit right in. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
So
Good
happy.
morning. Thank you so much for inviting us.
So happy to have you all. This is something I'll let you know. We talk a lot around here about the idea of reinvention and continuing to grow and evolve and be curious. And I think that there's a lot of that steeped in what you guys are talking about here. And there's so many ways from new tech and AI down to even taking a vacation to help you live longer. So many places we're going to go in this interview, but I do want to start here and get y'all's take. I'll defer to you two who would like to take this one. But I believe that we can continue to be curious and learn and reinvent ourselves all the way to our deathbed. And it's up to us what that age is a little bit as I realize that's a tricky conversation. But can you just lead with sort of get our audience kind of the ground floor elevator pitch and this that will get people excited then to want to dig in, to want to continue to be curious.
Yeah. Well, I think you said the key phrase in there. You said it's up to us. And that speaks to having an attitude and having a positive attitude. And we identified 7 different components of superaging, but attitude is the sort of umbrella that, sits over everything. We have positive attitude. It used to be felt a positive attitude just a sort of generically good thing. Sure, let's have a positive attitude. But now they've done research, and they've actually linked positivism or have positive attitude, optimism, even having a sense of gratitude. They've actually clinically linked this to living longer and being in better health. They've done research into people who are optimists and people who are not, and the optimists outlive the pessimists. And they've taken that right down to the cellular level of reducing stress and reducing inflammation. There's a biological reason that it's up to us. So you're on to that's the key to the whole thing. If you believe you can do it and you're positive about it, you'll get the results.
Let me just add one thing. What's so important is even if you don't have a positive attitude now, excuse me, there are exercises, there are techniques, there are simple things you can do really to build a positive attitude. It's just simply a matter of recognizing that it's possible, that you can change, and there's a very simple methodology on how to do it. And that's really the key to our new book, the SuperAging Workbook. How can you change your attitude? Because once you have a positive attitude, really anything is possible. I mean, your quality of life will exponentially increase, I think.
David, I
wanted a sore throat.
That's okay. That's okay, by the way. And that actually brings up my next question, because one of the things I thought was so interesting about the workbook, along with the fact that you guys consider LL Cool J as a great example of what it means to be old.
Yes.
He's the same age as me, by the way, Lindsay. So I take a little inspiration from Mama Said Knock You Out. You guys really talk about avoiding fitness mistakes. Lindsay and I, before you guys came on, were talking about my dad, who at 82, actually at 81, made a lifestyle change. He lost 60 pounds, and he did it on purpose. And it's been a night and day change. Your ideas I've seen in action. Talk to people, and we have a lot of older truck drivers out there who are very active. Talk about, though, avoiding the fitness mistakes, because often people will be enthusiastic and want to make a change, but they don't do it inside the limits of what they can and can't do. This isn't about trying to pretend you're 30 again. It's about having a vibrant lifestyle in your 70s, 80s, and 90s, correct?
It's a very important question, and the answer is that, again, research backed. You can do a lot with little. That it doesn't require, I have to change everything, join a gym, work out for 3 hours, 3 times, or 2 hours to 3 times a week. It doesn't require a wholesale and sometimes expensive and sometimes logistically inconvenient change. Little things. We've done pieces, and this is, again, all backed by research. Exercise snacks. Have you ever heard of an exercise snack? Think of
No.
Well, okay, less than a meal. It's a little quick snack. Well, you can do the same thing with exercise. 10 minutes, 2 10-minute sessions a day. 10 minutes right at home has produced dramatic increases in longevity. And the truth is, if you want to be ripped, okay, you got to go to the gym, you got to have a program. But if the goal is longevity, you can get away with a lot less as long as you do it regularly. And in both our book and in our workbook, and there's lots of other information that we get it from. What are these exercise snacks? It's just little things. They buy a set of bands and just do some lifts with flexible bands. You don't need to go crazy to get crazy good results.
Well, and let's talk.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
You please.
No. Really simple stuff, like just remembering to keep moving. Just getting up from your computer, your couch, every 30 minutes or something. Just walking around the room, or just going outside and taking a walk. Just very simple things, that keep you moving will make a huge, huge difference in your life. And again, add to that, as David said, I mean, very simple stretches, very simple flexibility exercises, and just the one caveat, if you're going to do anything drastic or make any serious changes, please talk to your doctor first. But other than that, keep moving.
But just let me just give 2 quick examples just to round it off. It used to be everybody was talking about 10,000 steps a day. You got to take 10,000 steps a day. They're buying all these fitness watches. They're keeping track. How many steps have I taken? Well, they did some research and they found that climbing 50 stairs, going up 50 stairs, or whether it's 1 flight or 2 flights, or even repeating up and down, gave you the same benefit as 10,000 steps in terms of promoting longevity, reducing inflammation, and so on. And then an even more dramatic one, they did a test of people that said, what if we reduce the time you are sitting, the number of minutes you're sitting? And this is very important, again, for, especially long-haul drivers. If we could reduce that by 30 minutes a day. So they took a research group and they took a controlled group, and they talked to the research group, intervened with them to reduce their sitting time by 30 minutes a day by getting them to, as Larry said, get up, walk around, move around a little bit, just reduce 30 minutes a day of less sitting. That's it. And at the end of the research, they found that the people who reduced their sitting time had a drop of 2 percentage points, which is significant, in their blood pressure compared to the other group. And that wasn't even exercising. That was just getting up and not sitting. So move around is the message. It doesn't need to be, profound. It doesn't need to be complex, and it doesn't need to be expensive, but just do it every day.
Move around, get up, and truck down, Jimmy Mack. All right, we're talking with David Cravit and Larry Wolf. SuperAging is what we're talking about. You can head over to SuperAgingNews.com. I want to talk here about purpose, specifically purpose over 65. I know the and then where it kind of lands around this tricky word called retirement. And I think people, there's two different schools of thoughts. People are, trying to retire earlier, make all this money and retire earlier so that they can then go out and quote unquote enjoy their life, or they retire later and then their purpose kind of becomes, well, I'm just to be here for my grandkids, which is a beautiful thing as well. But there's still got to be something in there that's your purpose. What are you living for? What lights you up? So can you guys talk about maybe David, or start with you, but many people think of retirement as ending. Can you reframe? How do you reframe that as a beginning?
Well, the first thing we talk about, in fact, on our website, one of the sections of our website is called Work and Unretirement. And if you look at the definition of retirement, it means withdrawal. We're retiring from something, removing yourself from something. In terms of employment in the workforce, yes, maybe 65, maybe 70. That's happening later and later because of longevity. The good news is you're going to live longer. The bad news is you're going to live longer. Where's the money going to come from?
Right.
So a lot of people are staying in the workforce. But even if you retire from the workforce, there are numerous superagers that are starting new careers, side hustles, extra income. But even if they're not retiring, even if they're not working, purpose, as you put it, there's something I want to do. And one of the most inspiring stories, I think, on our website was of a 101-year-old woman, I think in Maryland, who received a diploma from a community college in the same graduation ceremony as her great-granddaughter. And the interesting thing to me about this story, and the inspiring thing, is that she enrolled in the program at the age of 97. So imagine having the belief in yourself and the optimism, and again, the sense of purpose, to commence a new educational course, 4-year diploma, at the age of 97. And she
beautiful.
gets her diploma at 101. I mean, I think it's a very inspiring story.
Awesome. So great.
You reminded me, David, about the story we ran, I think, about the 104-year-old doctor who said, and I quote, "Retirement is the enemy of longevity." I've always remembered that story.
World's oldest practicing physician, still practicing at 101.
Woo!
101. Right.
Yeah. He's not performing surgery. I think he's
right. He's checking glands and eyes probably, but still he's keeping his brain working.
He's showing up. And by the way, he's a doctor, so the advice he dispenses has to be right on. He's still got all the liabilities of that and everything. But he said retirement is the enemy. But there's so many activities you can do, new careers you can do. We talk about, you alluded in the introduction to travel, unfamiliar travel. Go somewhere you've never been. Try it a different way. Learn a new language. Learn a new musical instrument. There's been clinical research to show that if you take up a musical instrument, it will promote longevity. Why? Because, and especially wards off dementia. Why? Because the brain craves novelty, and you challenge the brain with something new, the brain keeps working, and it actually has been proven to reduce the risk of cognitive decline and dementia. So there's very, hardcore biological benefits to all of this. But it doesn't need to be employment. but that's why we prefer the word engagement. Am I engaged? Do I have something I'm doing? Do I have a project I'm working on?
A lot of
Do I have a goal?
You know, a lot of great volunteer work that people can do. I mean, there's all sorts of very worthy organizations that need a lot of help in a lot of different areas. So a lot of very purposeful, useful opportunities, I think, no matter what your age.
One of the things I wanted to kind of let you guys know who are listening right now, I want you guys to go to superagingnews.com. You can find out more about what David and Larry's project overall is. Those magnificent seven A's, by the way: attitude, awareness, activity, accomplishment, autonomy, attachment, and avoidance. As I went through the book, I began to realize that there really is a trajectory here. You change your attitude, you become aware of the world around you. You then begin in your awareness to pick the thing that you want to do. That becomes your activity. It goes back to Lindsay's point of finding accomplishment, finding purpose, letting the purpose lead to accomplishment. That accomplishment lets the people who love you know that you are an autonomous individual and you can have independence while maintaining your attachments, and all the while checking in with yourself and your medical providers and the people that love you to avoid those behaviors and those situations that might make you age faster. There really is a beautiful trajectory here. And the reason I ask that is because I had a good friend, former NFL quarterback Terry Hanratty, who really kind of turned me on to why people should be constantly in contact with their doctors, not as hypochondriacs, but he was a big believer that so many people, if they would simply get their hearing checked, would have more vibrant lives. And the real trick here, so much of this is about not isolating yourself. It's about hanging out with people of all ages and being curious about the world, as Lindsay said. Is that fair?
Well, it's interesting. Hearing loss has been equated with increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. So absolutely right.
And
absolutely right.
And I wanted to kind of ask, how do you work with your doctors? And I can ask that to you, Larry. How do you make sure that you have a good relationship with your doctor to make sure that you're making the choices you need to make? This isn't about like, I'm never going to get old, I'm going to ignore my doctor. How do you interact with a doctor?
Well, for one thing, I have an annual checkup every year. And just seeing the doctor at least once a year, maybe twice a year if you have chronic conditions, going to the right specialists, and just, the very simple routine of having a full blood test, of having your heart checked, all your vital signs. You just keep monitoring your health. Now, I'm very lucky in that I can afford to have a great concierge doctor whose cell I have, who I'm able to phone any time. But even without that, I think it's very important to build a relationship with a good GP. And as you age, simply see the GP regularly. I mean, to give you a great example, my GP said, Larry, you're over 80 and your blood looks great, but I think you should have a complete cardiac workup, which I don't think I had in 10 years. So they discovered, to my surprise, that I had asymptomatic atrial fibrillation. I had no idea I had it, and they have it under total control with a blood thinner, but had it not been discovered, it could have done really serious heart damage. So I think the key thing is, no matter what, seeing your health provider regularly.
Can I introduce a little controversy here?
Please.
Not contradict Larry, but add to it. The healthcare system is going through a phenomenal change right now, particularly at the primary care level. Clearly, you're not going to mess around with the surgeon and tell him what to do, but at the primary care level, we're seeing a decrease in the number of geriatricians just as the older population explodes, thanks to longevity. Nurse practitioners are increasingly taking that role. AI is increasingly becoming the diagnostician. So that's number one. Number two, we're seeing the consumerization of healthcare, especially among superagers who want a certain level of service and don't want to be passive recipients of whatever wisdom is given out, maybe under not necessarily consumer-friendly circumstances. So there's a move to take charge of it. We actually ran an article saying, is it time to fire your doctor? And it was all about the quality of it wasn't about medical advice. We are not giving out medical advice saying that, his diagnosis or her diagnosis is wrong. It's why shouldn't you be treated a certain way? Why shouldn't the appointments be on time? Why shouldn't the shockingly low number of minutes they spend with a GP usually? And there's a big problem too with ageism in healthcare, where the doctors are saying, well, you're older, you're so old now, why should we even bother with that treatment? You're not going to be around long enough to benefit. And it's been estimated that ageism costs the U.S. healthcare system $300 billion a year of just lazy diagnosis or quick diagnosis. He's too old, who cares? That's in the system. Don't kid yourself. So we're a voice, we're an advocate of stand up for your own rights and needs, and don't be afraid to look for alternatives that can provide those needs. And again, I stress, we're not making a clinical point here. We're making a point about you are a consumer and you're entitled to a certain level of service.
I think you're making one important overriding point, and that is, I think, a good doctor will have a wellness orientation. In other words, the doctor will just not be treating the current symptom, but will be looking to what is the overall plan to keep you healthy and prevent adverse events from occurring.
This isn't necessarily helpful, but I'm wondering if anybody has heard the Louis C.K. bit where he talks about aging. I feel like I need to send this to you, David and Larry, where he says, I go to the doctor, I turned 40 and I said, Doc, my ankle's hurting. And he says, yeah, just take some Advil. And he's like, well, won't that just take 8 Advil a day? He's like, well, won't that hurt my innards? He's like, well, yeah, you just have to weigh out how much you want to feel good about your ankle. And he's like, well, what if I was an athlete? He's like, come on, you're not an athlete. Anyway, the bit is really great, but we have to weigh our priorities. But speaking of priorities, I mean, I really think, I firmly believe that aging is expansion. Now, I didn't think that when I was young. I think that now that I'm older and I can see that, and I know that the widening of wisdom and creativity is really, really impactful. But as it pertains to y'all's book here, 2 of the A's that stood out to me that are interesting balance, it's the attachment and autonomy. And I'm curious how we balance staying independent while staying deeply connected, because I think it's the connection piece that is the most powerful, because when we feel lonely and lost, why do we need to be here? So how do we balance the autonomy with the attachment piece there?
Well, if you have if you're lucky enough to... Go ahead, Larry, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think they're connected. If you have strong attachments and great caring relationships, that actually enhances your autonomy. Like, I'm lucky enough to have been married to the same wonderful woman for almost 60 years, and having that kind of attachment and having incredible kids and grandkids and good friends, I think the stronger and more vibrant your attachments are, the easier it is to maintain your independence and autonomy. I think one really enhances and reinforces the other. I don't really see any conflict or exclusivity between autonomy and attachment. In fact, the more autonomous you are, the more you can do and appreciate other people, I think.
The challenge here, though, is what if you already don't have the benefit of a familial network and friends have passed away or whatever. And what's going on in the world, and we report on this all the time, is the internet and technology is stepping up to provide that attachment. And it's important that everybody at least be aware of what's available out there. Not that you necessarily need it, but what's going on with robotics, what's going on with AI, what's going on with virtual friends and virtual associates, where a person who is physically alone can go onto the internet and interact with an avatar as if they were a person, that they can take part in things. There are nursing homes across the world, pioneered largely in Japan, are working with robot companions. So particularly if they have people who have dementia, who have serious issues where they can't be independent, they still need that attachment because that attachment promotes longevity. And the technology is moving at a lightning pace now, and it's something we keep an eye on our website. We report on it quite frequently. But there are systems in place. There are new programs coming out where a person can connect virtually, so attachment becomes ever more feasible.
I wanted to add this, by the way. Speaking of community, I don't know if you guys are familiar with how our show runs, but we are not only on iHeartRadio, we're also on YouTube, Facebook, Odyssey, numerous platforms. There is a conversation that happens every morning on our chat room. Marshall Platter, who is a friend of the show, calls on a regular basis. He said, "SuperAging, are you talking about me?" And he's kind of making the point that, one of the great things about the internet, along with some of the AI possibilities, is look, people can listen to podcasts now and get involved in online
something
chat
for
communities.
Everybody.
There's something for everybody. Lindsay hit the nail on the head. My father actually plays video games now with his grandson. And they play together, and it has changed the game. I just got off the phone with a military veteran who is literally, spending time on his Switch with his grandson, and they're playing Mario Kart. And this is not an uncommon thing. There's all sorts of ways. We have a good friend of ours, Candy Bass. She's 82 years old, still driving a truck.
And she still wears glitter. She's 82, driving a truck, and puts on glitter every morning, guys. Come on, that is the epitome of super aging. You need to interview her for the website.
She should create her own channel.
By the way, she actually has a TA Petro. She has a truck stop that is named after her, and now what she calls it is the candy store. So,
and the candy store, and her handle is the Glitter Granny. So these are the things we're talking about. You guys get it.
By the way, can you send us how to get a hold of her? We'll do a story about her.
Yes, I love that. I will do that today.
Her email or her, whatever it is.
Yep.
But my prime example of that is there's a 94-year-old grandmother who has 14 million followers on TikTok.
I love that. I love that.
Can she please just give me 1 million?
So it's happening.
Just want one of them.
Connection, no, but to get back to your original premise, connection, attachment is vital because, again, I go back to, I know I sound like a broken record. They've done research. Loneliness and isolation equals more stress equals more inflammation equals more chronic disease. It's all been traced through biologically. It's all the same thing. And you can fight it by reducing the stress equals less inflammation equals more longevity equals less risk of cognitive decline. And attachment is very possible now given the internet, way more than ever.
David and Larry, we're out of time, unfortunately, but this was wonderful information. Would love to have you back. Anything that keeps people inspired is very exciting for us. A good reminder, we're not done until we're done. So keep going, keep being curious.
That's it.
Head on over to Super.
So much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you to Super.
Thank you for inviting us. It's been great talking with you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Larry. We are out. We got to take a quick break here. Lindsay, tell them where to go. You're actually going to read that website.
Please go to SuperAgingNews.com. They're, of course, on Facebook, X, Instagram, everywhere. You can find anything you need over on SuperAgingNews.com. You can also get the book and the workbook over on Amazon.com or wherever you buy your books. Check it out.